2 o'clock-ish. I call the December 19, 2014 Board of Directors meeting of the Wareham Housing Authority to order. I ask everyone to rise, turn off their cell phones and things that make noise to sing Pledge Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. For the record, 3 members are present: Donna Braun, Jane Donahue, and myself. Mr. Santos and Mr. Lockwood are ill, and I offered them the opportunity to do remote, and they said they didn't think they would be able to. So it'll be the 3 of us. And under new business, item D is for the discussion of the presentation of our FY15 budget. So I'd like to take that up so that Tom Joy, our fee accountant, can leave and he won't have to sit through the other mundane issues that will come before us. So with that, Tom, I'd like to thank you for coming. I'm sorry that we don't have all the members present, but if you enlighten us well, we'll be able to transfer the information on to the 2 members at our next meeting. And I'd like to thank you for working with Jackie to look at the actual historical data from last year, 2014, and also the 5 months of this fiscal year, so that we can develop a reasonable, responsible FY15 budget. All right, so with that, we got these sheets, right? Everybody got these sheets called DHCD HAFIS budget request. All right, Tom, so I'll turn it over to you.
Thanks, Bob. In mid-November, the Department of Housing and Community Development came out with their budget guidelines. And all housing authorities have 45 days to return these guidelines and implement a budget and get the budget electronically submitted to the department. And so we're within the window of 45 days. Actually, it's like January 3rd or 4th. So we're within that window for submitting. Our housing authorities have different fiscal years. Our fiscal year begins July 1st. So we're actually in the 6th month of this budget year already. And so, I mean, it's been historically each year the department has to wait for the budget to be passed in the state before they know how much money they're going to get. So it's always it's a little bit later than usual, but it's still late. And so anyway, in those guidelines, they come up with a percentage that we can increase over the previous year's budget, and that's 3%. And that's 3% for all costs other than utilities. Utilities are based on actual. So 3% of all what they call their non-utility costs. So with that in mind, we have 2 budgets we're going to talk about today too. And the budget is a line item budget. We have all the various line items that a housing authority requires. And it's the vehicle that when it's approved, it's the vehicle that gets us our subsidy to operate the housing authority. We have the regular state conventional housing, and that's an operating subsidy that we receive. And we also have an MRVP, which is our leased housing program. The subsidy that comes in there is the landlord subsidy. So that's the vehicle to get those 2 programs going. So in your package, at the very back of your package, I just want to talk about that last 2 pages first. And the first one I want to talk about is it's called Operating Subsidy Calculation, and it has ANUEL. It's a little bit long. There's 2, one of them's short and one of them's longer. The longer of the 2.
Okay.
It should be right below that one, Bob.
Not this one?
This one, that's it.
That's
Okay,
1
yeah.
of 2?
Yes.
Yeah, the longer of the 2.
1 of 1. It says 1 of 1 on the top right. It says, the title of the page is Operating Subsidy Calculation.
And in parentheses, it says, Noel spelled wrong.
That's the annual non-utility expense level. That's what we're talking about, the non-utility expense level.
All right.
So what we do on this page here, this is the page that's filled out to determine how much subsidy we're asking for. So I just wanted to go to this page first.
Okay.
And on line 1, it says revenues, and that's revenues from our budget that we'll look at primarily. Everybody on the page?
Yeah, I got you now.
Yeah.
Okay. The revenues is the revenues that we receive is almost entirely tenant rent. We do receive some interest income, a small amount, and some laundry commissions from washer and dryer commissions. But the $435,650 are revenue. Now, on line 2, they take the prior year's non-utility cost. And that's all the cost of the utilities, as I mentioned earlier. That's $270,945. Line 3 increases that by the 3% that I mentioned in the guidelines. So that brings it up to $279,073. Now, below that on line 4, the Wareham Housing Authority has never asked the state for an operating cost exemption. A lot of housing authorities have things that come up that they ask over the years, but we've never been in a position where we had to ask for an exemption. But this year, we feel that...
Excuse me, I'm sorry, Tom. Could you interpret for me what we've never been in a position where we felt like we could ask for? Could you just repeat that again and explain to me what that means?
We never were in a situation where, usually what exemptions are for are retirees, paying retirees benefits, and we never had a need to ask for that exemption for retirees benefits.
Why, we didn't have any retirees?
We had one retiree. Yeah, one retiree way back.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we have a right
Now we
retiree.
now we have two.
And so we're asking for the exemption.
And-
Thank you
and-
for
and
the
the
clarification, I appreciate that.
And the exemption is, when we receive our bill from the Commonwealth of Mass from the Group Insurance Commission for health insurance,
Right.
we have active employees and retirees, and that's new to us. And the retirees portion that we saw in the last bill was around $1,600, whatever. So I just took that figure and multiplied it by 4.
Right.
And we're gonna ask for an exemption for the $6,600 with that we're now required to pay for the 2 retirees that went out last year.
Because it wasn't there last year, and it
Wasn't
sticks
there.
out, so you're asking them to not factor that in,
Yeah,
right?
but so that would be an extra subsidy. So that 6,600 carries over on line 4. The utilities on line 5 come from the front page of the budget, and we'll go over that when we get there. So what they're doing here is they're taking line 1, the revenue. They're subtracting line 3, which is the non-utility cap increased by 3%. They're subtracting line 4, which is the $6,600, and they're subtracting line 5, which is the $223,000 for utilities, which leaves a shortfall of $73,023. That's our initial subsidy request to balance that budget. We need $73,023 to make our revenue equal our expenses. Now, below that on line 8, this is something that the department initiated themselves. They gave all housing authorities $5,000 to upgrade their computers and also to develop a web page. So that's a DHCD directed exemption, similar to the retirees' health insurance, but the other one we're asking for, this one they're giving us. And so that $5,000 would then be added to the $73,000 to bring us up to $78,000 as our request for the budget, which you will see when we go back to the front page of the budget to take a look at that.
So Tom, going back to what Jane mentioned, the 4A, that's not an unusual situation for housing authorities to be asking for that exemption based on it's a new item.
That's a new item,
in a
right.
particular year,
Right.
so the likelihood of them, it should be approved then, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And taking in light that we've never been asking them for exemptions over the last several years since subsidy began in 1973.
Well, what other types of exemptions are there, Tom? We're not eligible for anything else, so
No, it'd
we
be,
would be asking for it, right?
when, it's like, this housing authority, when it first went into a subsidy program, had already been contracting for rubbish. Now, in recent years, some towns have stopped picking up the rubbish for housing authorities where they were picking it up before. So that was never built into their base non-utility expense level. So then all of a sudden they gotta go out and get BFI or somebody like that to pick up their rubbish. And now they have another $6,000 bill that was being covered by the town before, because the town was to pick up their rubbish. So they'd ask for an exemption for that rubbish. We had that already built in here, because we've always paid for rubbish here.
So-
But that would be an example of something
I
like
see.
that, something unusual.
So,
Once
in
the
other
base-
words, there are no other exemptions that we should have been asking for, that we haven't asked for?
No, no.
Okay, that was my clarification, thank you.
Our annual non-utility expense level has always been very good. We're usually always able to live within it, and we did last year.
Great, thank you.
The other page, the page that looks just like that on a little shot, I'll just briefly touch on that. This is a page where the state looks at how much money you have left in your reserve. Your reserve is your equity account. And on line 1, a full reserve is 100% of one half of your budget, which is $269,000. A minimum reserve is 20% of that figure, is $53,807. Now, they take the reserve from the previous year, which would have been, if these budgets went in on time, the previous year would have been July 2013. The reserve then was $41,579. We had a profit last year, closing the year out of $26,365. That brought the reserve to $67,944 at the end of June 30th, 2014. This year, we're asking to use $24,400 of that reserve, which will bring it down to $43,544. And that's approximately a little bit over 16%. We're not quite at the 20%, but I'm confident that in reality, at the end of the year, when you take a look at these budgets, we will be over 20%. So now we can actually go and look at the budget page itself, and some of these numbers might make some sense to you.
Can I ask you a question? Is 43,000 a comfortable enough reserve amount to keep, maintain?
Yeah, these budgets are basically for routine, ordinary expenditures. They're not, we don't have built into, the state doesn't have built into their programs things like replacement reserves or capital reserves. We don't have that.
I know, that's crazy.
We have a little bit of money set aside, $40,000, $50,000, if we needed to do some emergency repair.
Mm-hmm.
But that wouldn't pay for the total repair. Like if we had a leaky roof, we could get somebody up there and patch the leak. But then we'd have to go back to the state under the formula funding modernization program and have them pay for a new roof.
Mm-hmm.
So the top page of your package, and this is the budget itself. It starts off with budget request. And off to the left it says Wareham Housing Authority. Mm-hmm. And underneath that it says 400-1. 400-1 is the elderly program. Okay? And just to go back, we just talked about on the calculation of subsidies there, you'll see some of those numbers on this page. The top section from lines 1 through 14 are our revenues. Primarily revenue is line 1, which is the shelter rent from the tenants of $429,600. Small amount of interest income, $50. Other revenue, $6,000 is our commission from washer and dryer. And then below that, $78,023 is the operating subsidy we're requesting. That's the figure that we just went over on this page for the calculation of operating subsidy. Then the lines coming down, the expense lines all begin with the number 4. The ones begin with 4 and a 1 after it are all administrative expenses, 4100 series. They run from line 15 through 24. Included in that group are administrative salaries for our 2 office staff personnel, $54,000, and that's exactly 3% over what was requested in the previous fiscal year. We put some money aside for legal if we ever need it. We haven't been using much legal, but they like to see you have some money in the budget in case you did have to use it for whatever purpose. We have $1,000 for travel. Then you have accounting services. And the new item this year is audit. There's $2,500 in this budget. The state is in the process of coming out with a mandate that we hire a CPA to come in and do a two-day review of housing authority.
Yeah, I saw that.
Agreed upon procedures. And it's going to cost about $3,000. So I have $2,500 in this budget and $500 in the MRVP budget to make up the $3,000.
Why can't we put the audit cost in this request for exemptions? We didn't have that last year either.
In the guidelines, they said you can't. They said you have to absorb it.
They should pay for it.
And they only gave us 3 to choose from, too.
Yeah, in the whole state.
That's ludicrous.
It is.
Let me add, on the conversation about the audit, have you talked to anybody about this?
Oh, I've talked to the fellows that do the CPA reviews of housing authorities quite a bit.
Yeah.
And they're not happy about it. Even the people that originally said they would do the work, they're going to have a meeting with the department on Monday and express their concerns about how we are going to get 240 housing authorities done.
And 3 people,
with
3 firms.
Yeah.
And it's just almost an impossible task. So
You just wonder how come only 3 got picked.
Well, they're not small firms, I assume.
No, but
They're not a one-man show. I mean, I'm
Yeah,
sure
but they're
they're,
relatively small.
Two of them,
They're
I believe 2 of them
medium-sized.
are one man.
You know, Pace and Flaherty or whatever his name is, they're small shops, or Flaherty, yeah.
they'll subcontract it.
But what I was thinking of talking to DACD about is, number one, since this is agreed upon procedures, and it's not a attestation of the financial statements, and they don't need to opine on the financial statements, and we're supposed to be in line with the state auditors to do an audit here. They could do this kind of stuff too, number one. And number two, if we do get in touch with these folks, I'd like to go out and say, we want you for 3 years, and then we could get a deal, and we could do 14 and 15 together,
Right.
and that would help save some scales, but we'd need a waiver on the timeframes here.
Right.
The other thing I thought is we talked to them, they went out to bid, or whatever they did, they posted this stuff on the state's website and looked for people to express an interest in it. And there's a lot of medium-sized firms in the South Coast here that do some of the cities and towns that do this, you know, Fall River, New Bedford, that are larger than these folks, and they might be willing to pick up some authority business, especially since we have different fiscal years. The state's June 30th, the cities and towns are June 30th. If they can pick these up and get a waiver on these timeframes, they might get more people to express an interest and do the audits. They ought to let us go out and
Well, maybe, Mr. Chairman, it
request.
would make sense if you feel that way, feel strongly that way, then we'll just write a letter to DCHD and ask for a waiver from the use of these 3 guys.
Tell them what we want to do.
They're
Yeah,
probably
I
not
agree.
gonna agree to it, but we can ask for it.
I agree.
But otherwise, I think we're probably pretty much
Yeah.
have to go
Otherwise,
with
they're
the
gonna be.
program, and we'll have to wait our turn, and
Yeah, because otherwise they'll have to revise these requirements, because there's no
Yeah.
way they can happen.
When I read them, there was a lot of questions that came to mind, but one in particular was the timing of it. They're giving the CPA firm 4 months from the end of your fiscal year to get the job done, after the first year's done.
Yeah,
The next year when it comes around, they have 4 months to get it.
Yeah.
But when our fiscal year ends June 30th, we don't have our general ledgers to hand over on July 1st.
no.
I have until August 15th to get that done. Get everything closed out for the fiscal year and the package sent to DHCD. So
There's
the auditing
45 days.
they really only have 10 weeks,
Yeah.
Yeah,
not 16 weeks, because I'm taking 6 of those weeks away from them.
yeah. Do you know what the breakdown is? 240 odd
Yeah, housing authorities.
local housing authorities. Do you know how many have the June 30th, September 30th, 12/31, and?
No, but I'll tell you, when housing started in the 50s, it started as veterans housing.
Right.
And most of the communities that got involved in veterans housing were urban communities.
Mm.
And they all had March 31st year ends. If you go through your list of cities, starting with Boston, Springfield, Worcester,
Yeah.
Somerville, Cambridge, Chelsea, all the way down, they were all March 31st. It wasn't until elderly housing began, and then after that, family housing, 705 housing, that they started splitting the fiscal years up by housing authorities. But there's more housing authorities now on July 1, I think, than any other quarter. But they're the smaller size housing authorities.
well, we'll figure it out, and they will too.
Yeah. The last item in that administrative group is on line 23, administrative other, 18,500. That's all of the cost of running the office. That's all telephone, postage,
Paper,
computers,
cartridges, ink.
everything that goes in there. And we've always done well with that number. In fact, that number last year, we spent $16,488. So that's $2,000 in that number. And I will point out a few of the numbers, because I want to show you that we do have money in these line items, and we probably won't spend it all, and therefore we won't have a $24,000 loss at the end of the fiscal period. The next group coming
Let
down.
me just go back to the audit thing. Is that, this strictly relates to the state-aided projects? Doesn't supplant HUD's requirements for
Oh, no,
audit?
no.
So these authorities are gonna have to go in and get a HUD audit.
The ones that have HUD programs will still
Yeah.
continue to have an annual HUD audit.
So can their auditors that they hire for that cover this?
That they, in the wording in the guidelines, say that if they using somebody other than those 3 firms, that firm can do that procedure.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It does,
So that's gonna take a whole bunch of people out of the mix.
Yeah.
Boston,
Right,
Springfield,
so-
Yeah.
Worcester, you know.
Right, it'll only be the little guys who don't have HUD, who are gonna have to use
Little
these 3
guys.
firms.
All right.
Well, we're kind of a little guy,
Oh, yeah.
relatively speaking.
Tiny.
The next group of expenditures here to begin with, 4 and the 3 after them, 4300 series, are our utilities. And these figures are based on actual consumption from the previous year with using the current rates that were being charged for whatever it's a kilowatt or a thermal gas. And I'll just give you, for example, last year, we spent on water, 83,545. That's water and sewer too, by the way.
Yeah.
Right.
Electricity, we spent 50,532, and that's up to 58,000 with the rate hike that NSTAR is bringing on. And gas, last year we spent 75,113, and we put 80,000 for this year. And there's also a hike in natural gas.
Could you say what the electric figure was again? Sorry, Tom.
Last year the figure was 83,545.
No, that was water sewer.
Oh, I'm sorry, that's what I said. Second one now, 50,532.
50,000. Last year we budgeted 78, so.
Exactly. And at the end of the year, when you reconcile with DHCD on what your subsidy is that you're entitled to keep for the year, and that's after you close your books, they take the actual utilities as a figure, not what we budgeted.
Right.
So they take the non-utility budget portion, and we have to live within that non-utility budget, which we will, but they take the actual utilities and the actual revenues, not the budgeted figures. So the budget is really zoned in on that non-utility category. Okay? Now, going down to the bottom of the page, is the ones that begin with 4 and the 4 after. The 4400 series is all maintenance categories. And maintenance labor is 94,113. That's based on the current rates that we're paying with some money for overtime and seasonal help. Below that, materials and supplies. Now, this is where I think we have money. We have 21,530, and last year we spent 15,896. So that's almost a $6,000 increase over last year's actuals. And when I looked at the first quarter this year, we were like $3,000 for the first quarter of materials. So I think that number will definitely be underspent. Underneath that, we have contract cost of 21,000. Previous year, 16,855. So we have about $5,000 more in that line item than we had the previous year. And we don't have many contracts. We do have the rubbish contract, and that's I think $296 a month. But other than that, it's mostly skilled craftsmen, plumbers, and electricians that come on the property to do odd jobs. Now, the second page, we go to the top of the page, is first line item is insurance. This category are general expenses, and they begin with number 4 with a 5 after it. So this is the 4,500 category. Insurance is 19,200. Basically, we have no control over the insurances here. The basic insurances that are included in that line item come from political subdivisions of the Commonwealth. First being the workman's compensation insurance is set by the Commissioner of Insurance. The second insurance that's large is some property insurance, and that's bid by DHCD, the agency that we're submitting this with, and we get the bill from them. So those are those 2 bills, when they total 19,200. Employee benefits is the same situation. Included in that line item is the cost of the retirement, which comes from it's called PERAC, Public Employees Retirement Association Council. That's a division of the state. Commonwealth of Mass Group Insurance Commission is the health insurance is in there. And then we have a small amount of money for unemployment assistance, like $300 a year. And we have our portion of the Medicare portion of taxes on payroll included in there. So those 2 numbers are pretty much what I would call uncontrollable fixed costs. We don't really have much say in those. Going down to the next category, that when we begin with number 4 with the 6 extra, that's the 4,600 series. The first one is extraordinary maintenance. And these numbers here now are outside the budget. They're outside the non-utility cap. These are figures that we're putting on the budget saying, we're going to budget this money. We know it's going to come out of our reserve if we spend it all. But we want to put money in for particularly unit turnovers. Unit turnover is the biggest thing. Depending on how long somebody's been in a unit, you could have a lot of work to turn a unit over and get it back up to code. We had a lot of work this year with windows. Jackie did a lot of work with repairing and replacing windows to almost $3,000. And that's included in that 30,000. Below that, another item that we put down to take out of the reserves is for replacement of equipment that's non-capitalized equipment, primarily ranges and refrigerators. We put down 12 items at $500 a piece with $6,000. Whether or not you need that or don't need that, or maybe a range and refrigerator might become a snow blower or a lawnmower that might let go, then that's where it would be charged to. But we budget some money in that category in order to, in case something happens, we have some money budgeted there. And that carrying down brings your total expenses to $538,073. And when that figure is subtracted from line 14, your total revenue of $513,673, that's where the $24,400 minus figure comes from. And basically, we're saying we want to do $36,000 worth of extraordinary maintenance or replacement of equipment work, and it's going to cost us $24,000. Very similar to last year, but last year, when all was said and done, we had a $20,000 profit that went into the reserve, to build the reserve up. I think we're properly budgeting what could happen, but I don't think it all will happen.
Now, do we have any other office equipment contracts, maintenance?
We are in the process of getting a contract for, it's $595 for the year for our copier, scanner copier.
That would be under your office expense, under the
Yeah.
administrative series,
Did
under the
you guys pick that
18,500.
up?
Yeah, that's under the 18,500 on line 23.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that pretty much is what's in this budget. Like I said, we monitor it every month. You know, it's used to do the quarterly reports, and it's primarily, most importantly, is the vehicle to get the subsidy in here, the $78,000. We need the 78 with the tenant's rent to make this work.
So, obviously, what's missing is we don't have a prior year budget. So what did we end up with? We budgeted, but we didn't get it approved, right?
That's right.
And that's because the 13th fiscal year budget wasn't approved.
That's right.
And so what did we budget for, offhand, what did we budget for last year's?
For subsidy?
No, not the subsidy, but what do we end up with, a profit or a loss last year, and then it ended up to be $34,000?
We started with a budget that was $14,000 in the red.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we ended up in
And we
the
ended up
positive
in the,
34.
and we ended up in the black
Yeah, so.
Yeah, we ended up with a
This is last
26,000,
annual budget.
Yeah, okay.
we had a $26,365 profit at the end of the year that went into the reserve.
The budget is in this column.
Oh, okay, yeah, you don't have to. We ended up with actually.
We actually ended up
This is
increasing the
only
This
for
is
reserve.
March.
last
We
year.
don't
Oh,
have
okay,
the one
yeah,
for the
yeah.
end of June.
Right, okay.
thing. We have
So
it for the end of
this is a budget.
June. Oh, I don't have it with me.
Is there any opportunity to amend the budget during the course of a year? Or they don't do that?
I mean, circumstances, you could come back with a revised budget for some reason.
They do.
Oh, then, yeah, I mean,
I mean, we used to
the situation warranted.
revise budgets every month.
Right, but we have.
Yeah.
What I'm hearing from Tom is, again, we're kind of small potatoes here.
Yeah.
It's all pretty cut and dried. It's
Yeah.
not like we would have a lot of extenuating circumstances
No.
outside of the operating budget.
Right.
Anything that we had outside the operating budget, we would go out and request through the formula
Yes.
to get funds for. The roof falls in or
Right.
something like that.
So
This is just the bare bones.
I think at our last meeting or the previous meeting, we mentioned that, I think Jackie indicated that the DHCD said when they were down here for their visit, they indicated that they had a solution for approving, getting us over that non-approved fiscal 13 or 14 budget, and that was that they were gonna ask us all to sign a letter telling them that we weren't here then,
Right.
so I think we asked Jackie to see if she can put together all of our certificates of qualification from the town clerk showing the dates we came in, et cetera, and to put a letter together. But we haven't heard from them. They were gonna let us know what their solution was, but we'd like to get a solution so that when this goes in, it's not gonna sit in that limbo file because
Right.
13 and 14 is still.
Those budgets have been filed. They're still in their computers.
Oh, yeah. But they
You can look
won't,
at 'em.
they don't.
They're all
Yeah.
filed and we received all of our appropriate
Yeah,
subsidies.
Yeah.
We have, yeah,
So
we received all
it's
our money.
really,
Somebody
Thanks
just has to hit the
to-
as long as we
right,
got the money,
Senator.
we're good.
just hit the right button, so we'll go forward.
Yeah, okay. Any other questions on the 400 series budget?
This-
Looks
this-
good. Thanks, Tom.
The other budget, the second budget, the one that's MRVP in the top left-hand column, I can go over that fairly quickly. There's not a lot that we do there. Again, it's a vehicle that we use to budget a few line items, fewer administrative expenses against it, but primarily it's the landlord subsidy that we need.
Right.
So when you look at this budget, MRVP, we do make an administrative fee, and we are up to 52 units now. So the administrative fee is $23,400.
Yeah, okay. We keep getting more, so we're hoping to get to 60.
No, we have 4 more.
Okay,
You don't know that, Tom.
No.
We just got a letter.
You have 52 units?
We have 52 MRVP units with
Good.
4 more along the way. We just got a letter, so it's not, we're probably another 6 to 8 weeks. Another 6 to 8 weeks before we can see them.
okay.
That's good.
Yeah, I figured once the new administration gets in, they
Yeah.
would then hand us over, because they have to make their own budget appropriations.
So how would that affect if we come next, what's this, December, come March, April, we got 60 units?
We would keep the administrative fee.
Yeah, but would this?
Wouldn't affect us. This is just
This is a
primarily to
budget.
get the landlord subsidy.
Mhm.
All right,
Mhm.
okay.
So we're showing 23,400 on the administrative fee and $50 in interest income, and landlord subsidy of 420,000, bringing us up to a request, revenues of 443,450. Now, we do have a few small expenses against this budget. We have administrative salaries, a portion of the office. We have myself, the $500 I mentioned for the audit cost, for the CPA audit, to bring that to 3,000 in total. Admin, other, we budgeted $1,000 against it. And on page 2, a little bit of the workman's compensation insurance and a little bit of the employee benefits. And the 420,000 money going out to the landlords brings the budget down, and the bottom line that we have $2,875 left over. So pretty much, we don't get an additional subsidy, so this budget really shouldn't go into a red figure, a negative.
So now, Tom, I see you allocated some insurance, employee benefits, and administrative salaries and audit and accounting costs. Is there any way, since we operate that out of a unit, one of our units there, is there any way we can allocate some of the electric, gas, water, heat?
They don't allow any utilities expenditures or maintenance expenditures to be charged to the MRVP program.
Even though they don't sit in a chair outside, they're in the room using the water and the toilets and the heat and the light, okay.
Well, we get their salaries and everything, and squeezing blood out of a
I'm
stone.
just trying to, I'd like to have more red and more black in the other program unless, but what about, so the administrative salaries account, that would include administrator, the part-time clerk, and any other,
There's a
Yes.
portion of
okay,
it.
good, yeah, very good. Any questions on the MRVP?
This budget is no major change over any budget in the past 10 years, say, the operating budget, I mean, other than the 3%, it's
The
things-
$6,600 exemption.
except for the exemption.
That's the only
Right.
thing that's different from prior years.
Mhm. So, basically, we've been operating pretty much at least in the black for the last however many years on our operating budget. That's good to hear, thank you.
Is this yours or mine? Is that your way? So any other comments, Tom?
You have these two formal board votes here, and then there were a roll call type vote. If you want, I'll read the first part of it,
Go
so you
ahead.
understand, and then all members, all board members that are currently board members of the Housing Authority have to sign these, so that we'd have to get the other two signatures,
Okay.
I was gonna ask you about that, because it appears as though one of our forms is already checked off. It said it was board certified. I'm not sure which form I saw that on a
But
form.
in order,
Well,
to print these, you actually have
You
to,
have to check the
you
boxes.
have to check the boxes, but
Oh,
it's
okay.
not, the certification is
Well, that's
uploaded.
gonna,
Has
that
been
will
made.
happen.
Well, I know, I
You
just thought that it was odd that it was
It
already
has
the
the
boxes.
3%.
Check.
Yeah.
It does not exceed the,
Yeah.
whatever that was. where
I couldn't get the MRVP
Department of
stuff
Labor work, yeah,
until you
okay.
checked it off.
Right.
That's the- So I was like, that's
For
crazy.
health and safety,
I
okay.
know, because you have to
Yeah,
print it
well,
out
we
before
won't-
you go to board meeting.
You have to
We
print
won't-
it out.
That
for
won't
the
go in
voter,
until we
voter
get the
comes back in.
signatures.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so go ahead, read the,
So so-and-so makes a motion
all right.
that the proposed operating budget for the state aided housing of the Wareham Housing Authority, chapter 667, program number 400-1, for fiscal year ending June 30th, 2015, showing total revenue of $435,650 and total expenses of $538,073, thereby requesting a subsidy of $78,023 be submitted to the Department of Housing and Community Development for its review and approval. So-and-so seconds the motion, which upon a roll call vote was passed by a vote of blank to blank.
Okay, so moved.
Moved. I was just
For the
gonna say
first-
so.
Second.
Motion by Jane.
Okay.
Okay. On page 3,
Do you
there's
have to put that on that paper?
Yep.
Okay, motion by Ms. Jane Donahue, seconded by Ms. Donna Brown.
I'll let you go next time.
And you can put the dates in. Any discussion?
Well, it sounds very sound, like a very sound approach.
It's very simple, but it's very simple
It is.
approach that they have, actually.
it is pretty straightforward.
I was expecting.
All
much
in
more.
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
By roll call, Bob, yes?
Jane, yes.
Donna, yes.
Okay. Now, for the sake of getting, the other two members, from what I understand, are required to sign this, whether
Yes.
they're present or not. So we
Right.
have to then have a meeting with them to, or can they review this stuff?
Oh, they could just,
They can just sign
they
it.
can just sign
They
that,
can review it and be satisfied with it,
just move it along.
and then sign it, all right.
Because on the top of the section there, it does say members present and members absent, so
Yeah.
they will know that these
Yeah.
two of the signatures were absent. so.
Okay. And then there's a second motion you have, Tom?
Same as the first one, so-and-so makes a motion, and I'll just jump down to the MRVP program for fiscal year ending June 30th, 2015, showing total revenue of $23,450 and total expenses of $440,575, thereby requesting a subsidy of $420,000 be submitted to the department for its review and approval. So-and-so seconds that motion, which upon a roll call vote was passed by a vote of blank to blank.
So
As for-
moved.
As for motion,
Second.
motion by Donna Bronk,
We got this down.
seconded by Jane Donahue.
It's on this one.
Yeah.
Any discussion? While she's doing that, I'll ask for discussion. What is, based on the lateness of the guidelines coming out, and last year, I think we were in the December issue, where we finally got our issue, budget submitted. How is it running this year? Are they still running late?
Oh, yeah, they came up with the guidelines the Friday before that conference that they had over in Plymouth. Back in
Okay,
November.
that's
I think,
November.
That was like
November
November 7th,
16th.
16th, 17th, so
Yeah,
it was
so-
that Friday. They wanted to have them in place before the conference started.
Yeah, so they can talk about it.
Well,
But
they would've taken a
basically,
lot of
so
grief.
basically, a lot of people are behind the 8 ball getting this done.
Get this done. So that came out, and then the guidelines, they said you had 45 days from the date of issue, so it was 45 days. It's all November 15th, so
Yeah.
January, I think it was January 3rd.
Yeah, okay. So as far as you know, are people gonna get them all in? Or do you think there'll be some late?
I think there'll be some late. I had 2 meetings last week on one day, that heavy rain day,
Yeah.
and both of them canceled.
Well, we won't be late.
So-
Huh?
We won't be
We
late.
won't be late.
So I had another one canceled because they couldn't get a quorum.
I can't worry
They
about
didn't have a
anybody
quorum?
else.
Yeah. That's 3.
Geez, we're looking good.
I'm looking good on this one.
Let's see. Okay, so how are you doing? You're in the MRBP?
Yep.
All right, so we had.
There is only one thing, and I want to bring that to the board's attention. It does ask, I don't know if I'm disclosing this. It says that the attachment discloses that all staff persons, I would assume would be us, would be me, with any relationship to any board member or other staff member at the Wareham Housing Authority.
Well, that's a conflict of interest issue,
Okay.
yeah.
all right.
There aren't any.
There aren't
So
any,
you,
okay.
who does it ask to sign that? You?
No, it's just,
Same.
everybody is gonna sign that.
certification.
That's-
Okay, all
There
right.
isn't.
And it talks about the,
You're not
All right,
related.
so-
We're not related to anybody, so.
okay, so this is the 400-1
All right.
administration budget.
Okay, so let me call for the vote on MRVP. All in favor?
Oh, roll call
Aye.
vote.
Aye.
Aye. Bob? Yes. Jane?
Yes.
Donna, yes.
Yes, Don, all right.
And the motion was made by Donna Bronk and seconded by
Yes.
Joan. Okay.
So it was, for the minutes, it's 300.
Merry Christmas, Tom.
Thank you. So-
Are you going to Vermont?
No, I'm staying home. I don't know where. I'll go down to Georgia the first week in January. My daughter's having a baby, so.
Oh, congratulations.
Actually, she's having it in December, but I'm not going down to January.
So you won't be there?
My wife will be there.
Okay.
I got stuff to do before that, so
Yeah.
I'll go down a week later.
We're in Georgia.
Atlanta.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, enjoy. How long are you gonna stay there?
6 days is about it. I'm limited to 6 days.
Are you driving or flying?
No, I'm flying out.
Yeah, all right. All right, well, anything else that you would like to bring to
No,
our attention?
I think everything's going on very well.
All right, thank you.
Everything I see in the office and moving right along.
All right.
Everything's on time, not late on anything.
All right, well, thank you for your service. Merry
Yeah.
Christmas to you and your family.
Thank you, everybody. Have a
Yep.
safe and happy holiday.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Two.
So we'll get this in.
That's the
I don't
MRVP.
know about-
Yeah.
There's no boxes checked. What's number one, number two, and number three? Number two is about the contract. Or we just skip, we can check that box or not check that box?
Budget
Yeah, these aren't
certification.
I'm
What's the
sorry?
question?
I didn't check anything.
They're not checked, yeah.
I didn't check.
Is there a question there
Yeah.
that we're supposed to answer?
Yes, there's a question right here, number two. Number three, please select the appropriate statement below.
Okay.
I mean, I'm signing and there's no
That the
boxes checked.
contract
This
for
box wasn't
employment-
checked.
But the second one said if there is no contract.
There is no contract. That one there we checked.
So the salaries and applicable account line items submitted with this budget fully
Reflects
reflect
the
the
compensation.
compensation for each position. So
Yeah.
where's that attachment to this?
Oh,
There has to be an attachment to this, it says.
Oh, okay, there must be a subsidy, the one that
Salaries and
supports-
applicable account line items submitted with this budget fully reflect the total compensation
so that
for
would-
the executive director and each position included in the reference schedule.
Okay, so
Okay.
he then has to get us the backup for these line items. The breakdown of
Yeah.
this would be her, the
Well, it has to be
secretary.
attached to this.
Yeah,
It
so-
should be attached to this before we sign
Oh,
it.
yeah, we will.
Okay.
We'll get
But
that.
I already signed it, so.
That's all
I
right,
won't sign
it's the
it.
same thing as on here.
Until we get this,
Okay.
The same thing is here.
right, there's no box checked.
Then we'll change this title here from executive director to administrator. That's the MRVP one.
Right, so we need to see the schedule, is what
Yeah.
I'm saying. is-
Yeah, well, no, we'll get them.
Okay.
we can email them to you.
We gotta get them for the other guys.
There must be. I just did the major ones.
But we can't sign them until
No.
we have the attachments, right?
Well, we're certifying that everything's attached.
Oh,
So
no. How,
this is a budget
kinda like-
certification.
Yeah, we will-
Says
we
A,
will put it-
1, 2, and 3, and that you're signing that all this stuff is on here.
Right,
And right now, that is not attached to this, so,
right, so.
no, the
once-
only page that goes up to DHCD is this physical one. All the other stuff is in the computer. What I'm saying is, when I went in, I only printed off.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
I just printed off the main pages of the budget.
Some is mailed because it's got our signatures.
The only thing is mailed is the
The other
paper.
stuff is done electronically.
Correct.
And they'll
It's
have
already
all
in
those
there.
pages.
okay. and
It
I'll-
feeds into that budget line item, so I'll get you, I think we can email everybody that schedule.
This is
that-
page
Okay, and so you're gonna have to get Rudy and Bill in to sign these anyway, so.
Plus get those
Right.
backup.
And get the
those
backup.
subsidies.
Right,
Sure.
so if you get the backups, then I'll come by and sign that one.
This
and
is
Bill.
one.
I will too.
Okay,
Yeah,
terrific.
okay.
Yep.
This is one.
Just-
Where's two? This is two. This is is 3, this is for,
All right, let me
I should have
take
read it
them.
before I signed it, sorry. It wasn't, I just happened to glance up
This
and
is
see
just-
that there were
this is just
boxes that weren't
Yeah.
checked.
Just an empty page.
there's nothing on 4, so it's really 3 pages.
Does it say 1 of 2, 3, and 4?
It says 1, 2,
Yeah.
3, 4, that's the problem, so this.
But just
this-
keep that. Just so everybody will see that it's an empty page.
Right, because there's one, I'm missing 2, there's 2 is missing from here. I have 1 of 4,
I
3
get-
of 4.
I get 4 here,
2 of 4, oh wait, there's 2, it's behind 3. Should be in the middle.
and there's nothing on that page either?
No, 1, 2, and 3. That's just the way they printed probably.
Yeah.
It is, but I just want to make sure everybody knows.
3.
Okay, no,
And it says, it does say something,
That
we are certifying that we
The
reviewed.
quarterly operating statements of the previous quarters, yeah.
Right, that's what we're signing
Yeah.
to, we're signing
supposed to
to.
review those during the, as the quarters ended.
And we did,
yeah,
Did we?
yes.
yeah. Well, I have copies of all of them, so I think we went over them, Bob.
I don't remember.
Yeah, like this one is from the one that I have in front of me just happens to be the March quarterly. So, yeah, March.
Okay, so
3/31.
you can clip these together when we get the other guys to sign.
In
We'll
that
also
subsidiary document,
Get those
the
subsidiary
the
papers.
administrative salary.
Is that the only one? No person, these are certifications of no person, like you said.
Yeah,
who
just the
receive
no
financial
conflict of interest.
for more than one position. The authority has complied with the 121B. Okay, so that's that one.
Yeah, one is
We
okay.
received and reviewed all the quarterly statements.
We got them in the minutes of our meeting and should show that we've gotten them in the minutes of the meeting.
Okay, so this needs to be checked. No staff person has a relationship with a board member.
Yes.
Right. And then,
That the attached
And then-
disclosures, all staff persons with a relationship to any board. that
Would be
the attachment
disclosed, right,
discloses.
yeah.
There is no attachment because there isn't any. We're checking the first box that there is no
no,
relationship.
no, yeah, right.
Yeah, so you
This
don't need
first
the
box
second
here,
one.
but on the number 3, it will be the second box, right?
Right,
Because there is no contract,
right.
unless you want to call it with that one-page
We
thing
could
that
call that,
that we have
I
a
call it
contract.
an agreement and the
Right,
employment agreement.
so we're still working on the contract.
Yeah. In the first block says the contract has been fully executed. No, but we didn't do that with DHCD and
Because
all
there
that
is
stuff.
there is no contract.
Okay, so you still have to sign these and date them.
Yes.
Yeah, and then we get that.
We get notarized.
Get those, you gotta be
Right, so
notarized.
we'll have
They
to
could be notarized too, yeah.
We'll have to come by and sign them, Dawn.
Yep.
Okay. We can do that.
Isn't it the last thing? I'm sorry, can I see that, Bob?
It says you sign it.
Right, on the very bottom?
And then-
No, 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 I'm sorry, it's not
Then the
notarized.
electronic submission is approved in accordance with,
Okay,
and
yeah.
that's signed by them, DHCD.
Yeah, nobody signs the electronic submission.
No, they
These
sign it when
papers
they
go
get
out
it.
and, yeah.
You sign it. These go in by mail.
You scan them or
Yeah.
you send them in?
That's
We
what
we
did
send them
last
hard
year, we
copy.
sent hard copy.
They want a hard copy in the mail.
Okay, very good. It should be easy enough for him to show the list of the employees and the salaries, and what portion went to MRVP and
Yeah,
what portion went to the
yeah. But he
operating.
has it. He
Right,
has
it's
it
in
on
that,
here.
right,
He
it's
has it on these
it's
two
in this
pages.
paper already. That,
Shows.
Right.
all it is just the breakdown.
He shows 18,000
Oh, yeah,
in one.
I saw it in the papers,
Yeah.
there's just no breakdown.
So I'm
so.
giving you
But that should
this.
be, piece of cake, it should be, so maybe by Monday,
Oh, easy.
or a Wednesday at the latest, I guess I can come by on Wednesday and sign it.
All right. Okay, so back to our regular order of business. We have the minutes of November 19th, 2014 available.
I'm gonna suggest that we table those until the other 2 members of the board are here, since you weren't here, I mean, you were remote, right?
Yes.
And Dawn
I
wasn't
wasn't
here
here.
last time, so.
So I
Okay,
can't.
so
Just
you and I
you
can
and me,
vote, but it would be
yeah.
enough. Okay, so table the minutes, approval of the minutes
Mm-hmm.
for the next meeting when we have more present. Okay, what about authorization to sign? Did you bring checks or anything?
Nope.
Oh, well, let's authorize, because you had payroll coming and everything. Authorization to sign checks, documents, and other adequate supporting documentation and appropriate
Okay.
approval by the administrator, which includes that bank
Yep.
signature paper you had.
Right.
Okay, so I'd have a motion on B.
Well, I move we sign the bank savings
Paper, yeah.
paper. I'm assuming that somebody else came in and signed the checks on Wednesday for the other.
In the
Issuances.
paper with the 3 documents,
So
three
there's just-
signatures, so we need to approve that, right?
We voted
We
on
just
those
did.
already. We don't have to
Oh,
we
didn't-
vote on them separately, Bob.
We didn't vote on item B.
No, we voted on the 3 signatures for the budget. Is that what you're referring to?
Oh, no, I'm talking about to sign documents, which
Right.
would usually checks and documents that have adequate supporting
Right, but there aren't
documentation.
any except
She
for
didn't
that
bring them
one.
with her.
No, I don't have
They're
any.
already signed.
Oh, okay.
Because today's Friday. I do them
Okay,
during the
yeah,
beginning.
right.
They were done on
Alright,
Wednesday.
so
That's what I
that
was
doesn't-
trying to say.
Not applicable,
Right,
doesn't apply, all right,
not
very
this
good.
time.
All right, new business. New business, do I have anything to report? No, just that Jackie has explored the cash balances in our accounts, the MOD, the MRVP, and the administration. It seems that she compared on a monthly basis, it seems like we should have, at least be able to put $40,000 into a interest-bearing account or an interest-bearing arrangement at the bank and try to earn some money and help our bottom line to whatever the best extent we can, so that we demonstrate we're managing our cash in a good manner. So can I have a motion to approve that $40,000 transfer to the savings account of the Eastern Bank?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Donahue, seconded by Bronk. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous, 3-0-0. I don't think I have anything else in cash management. If there's internal audit and compliance, we'll, as James talked about earlier, we can try to put together some kind of a letter to DHCD and to these 2 firms and ask them if they'd be interested in what it would cost to do, maybe have a 3-year agreement with them and do the 2 years together, FY 14 and 15, after June 30th ends, and we'll see if DHCD will allow that. It seems like they probably will, because these 2 guys won't be able to handle it anyway. And they may, it's one of the suggestions I'll make to them and DHCD, that they try to be a little more flexible this first year and a half going around.
If we get our oar in the water fast enough, we'll definitely have somebody to get ours done for us.
Yes, yeah, but
I just have a couple comments about this audit.
go
That
ahead.
has to be done, and my question is, I see that the part of the audit is reviewing policies and procedures.
Yeah,
Where are we on those? Do we have these in writing yet?
I think we still have the original policies and procedures that we had started to discuss. And then we left them on the table, and Jackie got some further information as to what was kind of uniform procedures and policies in terms of sick vacation, holiday, and other things. What I was thinking is that if we just take those and send them into the DHCD and let them look at them and then tell us what they would take exception to, and then we can deal with those. Because I think for the most part, they're
Well, most of the
Kind of
ones that they're
standard.
asking for are ones that we should have.
Oh,
We should
yeah.
have policies and procedures in place.
Yeah, and I think we have these draft procedures that weren't completed or adopted by the board, but for all intents and purposes, that's what she's using as a practical point of view, as a practice that you would measure against, so.
Well, I think that maybe we should put 1 or 2 of these policies on each agenda for the next couple of meetings and just knock them out.
Knock them out? Okay.
That's what I say. That's a good.
Because
All
it
right.
seems to be too difficult, even though we assign certain policies and procedures to
To
each committee.
groups, yeah.
It just seems to be too difficult to get together
Not
more than
working,
once a
right.
month. It's not really working. It was a
Okay.
good idea, it was a good thought, but I think we should take, just have to take 2 or
Especially-
3 on each
I think you
agenda.
should prioritize probably, and it's just my recommendation, is your rental collections policies and
Okay.
procedures. Because I know that other auditors really look at that carefully.
Yeah. All right, yeah, and if you look at the audit guidelines, it mentions what they're gonna be
Exactly.
looking at. So we can
Exactly.
take those out, like rent collection, bill paying.
I mean, even some of the ones,
Personnel.
you can whip out of that book that I gave you and just revamp it
Yeah.
to us.
I think we pretty
We
much
did.
did that.
Oh,
We did
okay.
that.
We
Oh,
have
okay.
these.
Okay.
So we'll pull
you're
those
also-
out.
We really have them ready to kind of just really go to the next.
Good.
Like you said,
They
the
need to be
critical ones, if the
retyped,
auditors are
they
gonna
need
come
to-
in and look at your
exactly.
collection of rents,
And procurement.
Your,
They're gonna look at
procurement,
procurement is
and
definitely
your,
big on it.
what do you call it, delinquency processing and all that
Exactly,
sort of stuff.
delinquencies, yeah.
Okay, so
So maybe we should, like
try
I
to do
said,
those two.
put those two on the agenda for January
All right.
and knock them out. Everybody knows ahead of time that we're gonna look at those two in January and
We'll put that on the agenda. Maybe,
Exactly.
if you can, I hate to ask you, if you can dig them out.
No, I already have them all ready
And
to go.
send them to the
No
members
problem. Yep.
beforehand so they can look at them.
And I
Yeah.
do have to say that I do believe excuse me, if I can address
Yeah,
the
go
board.
ahead.
The rent collection policy was already agreed upon back in July of 2013 by the board at that time. So if
Of
you
the
want to
other
just
board.
present it and then revote it with full complement of the board.
that might be a good
That's
idea.
That's
Yeah.
all right with
Okay.
me. If it
All
was,
right.
if
So
it was.
I don't think I had any comments on that when I went through
I don't
them,
remember.
Jackie. I think when I looked at that one and I thought that was in fairly good shape, Donna.
Good.
Okay.
I just don't want us to get bit.
Right.
No,
I
I
agree,
don't
and we
wanna
should
do
have
that.
these together.
Okay.
If that's part of the new audit, then absolutely they should be. I think there's two in here for rent collection and
Yeah,
cash.
they were
management.
segmented. I remember we covered it in some different places, yeah.
There's one that's like just,
Another one that is a big one they look at is payroll, travel, fringe.
Travel and fringe,
Yeah,
yes.
they look
yeah.
at that stuff.
Yeah.
You know, they're,
That, for all intents and purposes, doesn't exist.
well,
But we get policies for that.
Yeah,
I think we get,
absolutely.
we get pretty good
Exactly.
policies
Yeah.
for that, yeah.
I mean, we haven't discussed these two, but there were two initially sent out to
Yeah.
us. This one, and I think this is probably the one that you're referring to,
That's
Jackie, the one that
probably
says
it.
draft.
Yeah.
It says draft because when we kind of got caught up in the moment about draft, but in reality, when I went back and reviewed the meeting minutes, there was a vote taken, so maybe I'm thinking of the wrong, I do believe it was rent collection policy,
Okay.
because at that point, there had been this problem with the cash, so you went
Yes,
and made
we
a new
did.
policy
We-
with no cash, so,
And what we did when we identified issues back in fiscal 13 year end, we instituted individual procedures, discontinuing certain steps and instituting new ones. So those policies were like
I guess it's not really ready to
piecemeal
go.
put into the
Yeah.
minutes.
so
But-
basically
and
we
I
need
think
to
they've
just
been
review them.
incorporated into these.
yeah, okay, so.
okay.
All right, so rent collection, procurement, and we'll get those two knocked out. All right, so I have nothing else to say on cash management except that we just did the budget and internal audit and compliance. I don't know if there's anything.
Did you give us in a report, did you give us a vacancy report too?
Yeah, it's in my administrative
Administrative
report.
report, okay.
Right,
And then infrastructure and capital planning, Bill's not here, but can you give us a update on
yep,
the stuff with this DHCD budget for the buildings?
we, for building 1, 2, and 4, we are, I did include that, they came back with 100% CD approval for the bid package from DHCD. They signed off on our bid packet. We have been strongly suggested through DHCD to use bid docs, of which they're gonna pick up the fee on that, to have bid docs take care of all the procurement part of it, of the bidding for the big job for building 1, 2, and 4. I received a call from Steve Carvalho, the assistant director of the local housing authorities for the UCD, informing me today that we received another 46,000. I think it's 46,500. I left a piece of sticky back on my desk. The amount. They will send us a letter stating we are awarding you this new amount of money to cover the asbestos removal for Agawam Village,
Great.
part, you know. So then we also probably will be going out within the actual construction will begin, but the first 2 weeks of March for buildings 1, 2, and 4. And we also, in relation to that, received really 2 good pieces of news like yesterday. David Coma of Mass Save doing an audit report on the outdoor lighting for Redwood Village. He came back and said we're back in the queue again. They had to wait and get the proper fittings for our indoor lighting and outdoor lighting, so we're really looking forward to that. I'm not sure of how much money that's going to be, or we'll even know any of that information, because they pretty much do that behind kind of, like, they contract those costs out. They're beneficiary of that. Then also we received $39,000 this week as well to do toilets, 85 low flow toilets. So they're giving us $450 per toilet. So I'm very
Awesome.
excited
That's
about that.
incredible.
So we'll be able to do that.
Yeah.
It is expensive.
I just thought.
And the toilet, we did some research. It's a toilet
That's to
that
get them
basically
installed.
we've
Doesn't use
been,
water.
it's a, they strongly suggest use this northern toilet, which is sold at Home Depot and Lowe's, but they are getting it through their own contractor. So
That includes the installation price, though, right?
that is including, it's a $150 toilet with $250 for installation. So I smiled because I thought of you, Donna, when I received that. I'm like, that's
Installing
ridiculous.
the toilet could be really a long job, ask my
Let
husband.
me ask you this,
Oh, yeah, well, some husbands.
are they gonna
I'm good
ship
with
us
that.
all these
No,
toilets and we have to store them somewhere, or can we?
I do
just-
not have any of the, well, hopefully
Probably some of these floors are gonna come up with
we are
big
working up those
problems.
details after the
Yeah,
first of the year.
so we
That'll
don't
be
have to
extra.
stockpile.
That'll be extra.
Okay.
And I think that's
Ones
the
that are good, that's just the
final.
average.
And also just along with the maintenance update, this week, coming up the 22nd, we are replacing through Mass Energy Save, the local housing authority section. They are replacing all of our thermostats and upgrading our thermostats. We have some very old ones, along with handheld showers for each of the bathrooms and new aerators. So,
I still just have a problem with this report.
okay.
And my vacancies. I
Yeah.
don't know how long they've been vacant.
Oh,
I
you
don't know where they're
Oh,
standing.
okay.
I don't know where they stand.
Okay.
And same with the delinquencies. Is anybody paying?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Okay, so you need more of a graph. I'm
I
sorry.
just wanna know
Yep, yep.
if Joe Schmo owed us $3,000 last month, if he still owes us $3,000, is
Correct.
he paying?
Right.
That's what I wanna know. Are these people living up to their, and
Yeah.
if they're not, what are we doing about
Right,
it?
and
The 30,
that-
60, 90 age,
Right.
yeah, how much
You're
is,
right, you
what's
did
the,
ask me
and what's
to
the
do that.
payment
Yeah, you
agreement?
did.
What's the agreement?
Yeah, I wanna know if they're living
Okay.
up to it, because most people
They,
don't.
so just to kind of back up a little bit, for the vacancies, we'll go over the vacancies. So vacant units, we have now 4 left in Agawam. We had 5, we're down to 4. We placed a woman in already, unit number 42. Redwood, we had 3, we placed 3, and now we have 3 again, because 3
Yeah,
people
well,
died.
that's,
So,
I mean, that
so-
happens.
right, you want, yeah.
I
So
agree.
basically, we're at the same number, but it's 3 different units. so-
Different units,
And see,
right.
that's why I wanna see D3
Yeah.
or D4 is vacant, but, and I can look back to last month and see, was it vacant then?
Yes.
Was it vacant the month
Okay.
before?
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to do, that's what I'm trying to establish.
Okay, so you just, I
It
mean,
might be-
information is in there, but it's not as clear. I see what you're
I
saying.
think what she's looking is like
How long did it take?
vacated on this date,
Rented on this
rented
date.
on this date.
Exactly,
Which-
so how long has it taken us to turn them over? And I mean, sometimes there could be extenuating circumstances.
Right.
I just wanna know, how long, because it might be cheaper to contract to do it, or it
We are in
might
the
be.
process of procuring our contractor for flooring and painting, and the other little minor things that we can do, we do. But yes, no, I understand.
I'd like
Yeah.
to see how long it takes to turn over a unit. I told
Okay.
you how long I turn a unit over,
Right.
and I don't expect you to do that in that, but
No.
I'm just saying. And if I didn't turn a unit over in 5 days, Mass Housing would be all over me.
Right.
But, and I'm not looking for that, I'm just looking for a reasonable one.
Sure.
There's
No, I
no,
understand.
you
No,
know, they
no,
should be
there's no-
30, they should be turned over in 30 days.
So there's
But
not
we
that.
don't have, I mean, I understand that, but we don't have a full, I mean, we have two 19-and-a-half-hour guys, so when one of them does he is laying flooring, of which we're trying to get that
That was your
contracted.
choice, though.
No, it was, but,
Yeah.
you know, so,
Yeah,
gotta live with
it's
it.
a
Yep,
cost
you're right.
effective.
You gotta live with
weigh
it.
the cost with the benefit. So anyway, but what, I think what Don is asking for is that instead of just having a narrative line, maybe you put vacant units. List the unit, the rents owed, I mean, when
yeah,
it
the
became vacant.
receivables, the when it become
Yeah,
vacant,
and then
and
on
when
the
we fill it.
receivables,
Okay,
the unit, the amount owed, and it's 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, so we know what the total is and whether it's all current.
He's
And-
on the receivables now versus.
Yeah,
the
I'm on both.
vacancies.
I'm
He's mixing.
no, no,
it.
I have,
You're on
I understand both
receivables.
ideas.
Both,
Two
both,
But
both,
if you,
both are important.
Receivables,
oh,
Because-
absolutely,
Aging
because-
that we're
because-
collecting.
Because a lot of people were not paying their
Yeah.
agreed amounts, and if they're not gonna pay their agreed amounts, then we need to pursue them.
yeah, and then we're making
Yes,
progress on the
yes.
balance, that is, if
Right.
we got an agreement, they're paying it and they're living up to it, and it's gonna be,
Have no
Caught up
problem. If it's their agreement and they're living up to it, I have no problem, but if they're not living up to it, I have a problem.
but just, we'll show that on your,
yeah, I already do that,
all right,
I do that form.
for yourself,
Right, so
Yeah,
I
all
can
right, so
pass,
we'll-
I'll just give you a copy of what I do.
yeah,
It's fine,
Yeah,
all right,
that's fine.
good. Okay, well, any,
and you want me to just finish the
no,
report? Do you have any
That's all
other
I-
questions?
that's
Yeah.
my
that's
question
all,
on
I'm
it.
all set,
Right.
unless anybody else has
Nope,
questions.
No,
Okay.
I thought the report was good. Thank
Okay,
you, and I
so far, fine.
appreciate very much the update in
Yeah.
between. It was
Thank
very
you.
helpful.
Thank you,
Yes.
thank you very much.
Okay.
You're welcome very much.
So nothing more on infrastructure, anything starting yet on this community preservation projects and paperwork?
Just the asbestos remediation one.
Okay,
That's, taken our time, more time than we expected, so,
all right,
so we are receiving 2 quotes, one from a Mr. Michael Bean and one from, Mr. Glenn Davis, 2 independent contractors that do lay floors. So as soon as, we are waiting still for one left to come in, one bid to come in. And we have our cost of what we did, and I figured that would be 3,
Mhm.
you know. It was more expensive to lay the vinyl tile than it is to lay the rug and the other rolls, linoleum. So it is, but it's worthier because it lasts longer.
Well, the longevity is there,
Yeah.
I mean.
Yep,
It
absolutely.
endures long.
okay,
Right.
very good. Any residents' concerns you wanna present? You did have a
Oh, I-
Christmas party, I think, in Redwood, no?
There was a,
where
was
Was it here or there?
Agawam
At
Village.
Okay,
I
That
didn't
went
put that in
all
the
right?
report. I heard that it
they had
went.
carolers,
Yep, and the carolers will be here Monday at 4:30, yep, to,
Okay.
with Redwood residents. And we do have at 3:30 a little get-together
Yeah,
for the tenants. I know some have said they were coming, so, and we do have one really good thing, but it's not till March of 2015. I met with the postmaster, and she agreed that they're gonna
Yeah.
remove all those things, so that was in my report. But other than that, that's it.
all
Yeah.
right. I mean, just for clarity on that, did we put out a petition, the residents all signed it, went to the
No,
postmaster?
the residents did the
Right.
petition.
That's what I mean, and they did it, and the postmaster approved it,
Absolutely, yes.
and notified you.
She called me and said, I'm in hand of the receipt of the residents petition concerning safety and security for their post boxes, and she couldn't find any history of why it was moved, and she couldn't see why it couldn't be moved.
Okay, so it was
So
done
we
at
walked
the-
around the whole, the campus, and we looked at and placed where they would be.
Okay, so it didn't have to go beyond the local postmaster to a higher level of district or whatever?
No,
Okay,
she
good.
had complete control
That's
of it.
pretty good turnover, so we thank the postal department for agreeing to this request of the residents
Yeah.
and put the postage pickup closer to their residents. Anything else to come before us? Anything? You got everything, you got this?
It was in the report, yeah.
Anything you need
Yeah.
signed, we sign.
You signed
All
that.
right. Ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
So moved, seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
300. Thank you. Wish everyone Merry Christmas.